Previously, on our last lesson, we reviewed the 6 rows of the Create PT scoring guide for points criteria and completed a quiz for understanding. Before we begin, check Skyward for missing assignment dates. There are only 19 more days left to boost your grade in Term 3. In our warm-up today, you will need to quickly review the categories of the scoring guide. We will look at 3 actual student examples with scoring guides to examine how each was graded. This will help you in designing your own project idea. Sample 1 is a word game helper that a user changes the input of the word letter length and changes the beginning letter. The output displays a list of words that match the criteria. The short silent video shows the program functioning. You can open all the links for yourself from Google Slides copy. Let's take a look at the written response for this example. As you can see, each box of the template is fully completed. The answers are not excessively long and answer each prompt section. The images of code given match the written description. All written answers are also properly formatted and identify specific lines of code. Now let's look at the annotated scoring guide. This app received full points. The highlighted yellow sections identify the specific evidence that earned a point for each row. In row 1, the written response identified the user input and the program output and the purpose of the app. This also matched what was seen in the video. In row 2, the list is identified and shows what it stores for the words for the output. The corresponding code segments are also shown here. In row 3, the student explained how complexity is managed and why the code would be different without this code segment shown. The student said each word is stored as its own variable and can be used for any length of word added to the list without changes. In row 4, the student showed a procedure they developed that had at least one parameter and the function being called. In this case, it is a function that loops through a list, checks the index length of each word and the beginning letter. Those are the parameters. And it dumps it into a new filtered list to display as output to the user. This specific block is essential to the functionality of the program because without it, the function and app would not work at all. In row 5, the written response explains in detail, line by line, how the algorithm works, which filters a list according to the length and first letter. This satisfies a sequence, selection, and iteration requirement. Most loops with booleans would earn points in this section. In row 6, the written response explains 2 different calls to the procedure, and the video shows that. Changing word lengths in the first letter gives different results. It also shows that if no word from the original list matches the criteria in the loop, it displays for the user a notice that no word is found. So this word app received full points. Now let's look at example 2, the Magic 8-Ball app. The video shows the user clicking the ball while the surrounding images and text change to usual 8-ball responses. This example did not earn full points, so let's focus on the 2 rows that did not. Click the annotated sample 2. Rows 3 and 5 did not earn points. Scroll down to row 3. The student explained that the code would have been longer without the list of output responses. But this was not enough information to earn a point. The student should have explained the specifics of how their code would be different and why the code would be longer. The length of a list does not make it complex, and a list does not make it more manageable. Row 5 also did not earn points because the student did not explain in detail how the algorithm works. Instead, the written response refers to what the output does instead of how the procedure creates an output. The 8-Ball app could display random responses every few seconds, so this code segment is not entirely essential to the functionality of the program when the user clicks the screen. Lastly, let's look at sample 3, a dog picker app. This app also lost most of the points. This example lost points on rows 2, 3, 4, and 6. In row 2, the student did not identify the name of the list in the written response, even though the code segment image was included. In row 3, again, the student did not name the selected list in the written response, so this makes this answer invalid. In row 4, the procedure did not use any parameters. Remember that a random selection is not a specific parameter. And in row 6, since row 4 did not earn a point for having a parameter, the point for this row is also invalid. The student could not explain the 2 different calls to the function, which causes different parts of the code to execute. Again, the user clicks for random dog info, not specific dog info. To recap, example 1 received full points because the written response segments identified specific code requirements. Example 2 lost a few points in rows 3 and 5 because a random index from a list is not managing complexity and not essential to the app's function. Example 3 lost points in rows 2, 3, 4, and 6, mostly because the written response did not identify the name of the list and the function did not use specific parameters. It used random instead. Your assignment is to make a private comment in Google Classroom that correctly names each row that lost points for examples 2 and 3.